Thank you for coming today, everyone. Today's in-depth training call, we're going to be talking about dashboards, how to use dashboards with advanced queries, how to create a dashboard from scratch, and just review a couple of the more interesting and useful instruments that you can use within the system. What we're seeing right now is just an example of a dashboard that can be created. Basically, a dashboard is just a home screen that has a number of different explorers, a number of different instruments on it that pertains to the information that you need to see. So, for example, in this case here, I can see all orders that are in specific stations. I can see specific line items for it and Explorer. I can just tailor a dashboard to show me the information that I need to see. To start off your own dashboard, all you need to do is next to the dashboard button at the top of the screen, there is a drop-down button. If I pull that button down, I can see a list of preloaded dashboards in the system, in addition to dashboards that we've created. And then also, I have the option to do a new dashboard. So when I select New, all that does is that opens up a blank dashboard that I can now go ahead and modify and make changes and essentially build my own dashboard. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to add on a couple of the more basic instruments and just build a very simple dashboard that usually works for most customers. So what you can do is if you right-click anywhere in this section, you get the menu to add a column, remove a column, open if there was anything selected, or in this case here, we're going to add an instrument. So the Add Instrument list has all the different instruments that you can use for a dashboard. And what we want to do is we're going to start off by just adding a simple Order Explorer. So if I do Add Instrument, I'll go scroll down to Order, and I'll go down to Order Explorer. What that does is that now adds in a new instrument that shows me orders within the system. What I can do now is I can resize any of the instruments that we add. So if I pull down the bottom here, I can resize that instrument to get a little bit more room. And now, if I go over to the top right, every instrument has a minimize box and then also a little triangle button that allows you to open that instrument up, and then you can clone it to make a new instrument. You can close and get rid of the instrument altogether, or what we want to do here is we want to go through and edit this instrument. And when I click on Edit, all that does is it opens up a new screen that allows me to modify the properties of this particular instrument. In this case, whenever I'm modifying a Order Explorer, I essentially get all the same information that I get from just doing the normal Order Explorer. So I can give this instrument a caption, so I can make it so that way on the main dashboard screen I can see what the name of this instrument is. I can tell it to refresh a certain amount of minutes. So we're going to refresh every 10 minutes. And I can go down here and say I can specify a salesperson. I can just specify what built sale. And then sometimes if there's more information at the bottom, you'll see an arrow down here that you can click. And that will scroll the screen down. Now I can scroll it down over here and view the rest of the particular instrument. Same thing, if I go back up to here, there's an arrow back up to the top that will bring me back up. And now I can view the top. So basically now I can go ahead and create an instrument and add in the information that I want to see. I can look up a specific station. I could look up only orders where I'm the salesperson. I can tailor this instrument to be what I need it to be. Once you have all the options selected that you want to do, you just go back up to the triangle button and then do Save. And that will save your instrument with your name. So I'm just going to go ahead and add in another instrument. If I right-click, do Add Instrument, we'll do Estimate, and then Estimate Explorer. And that is essentially the same exact thing. So now I can resize this one, go and edit this one. Now I get the information for being able to edit an Estimate Explorer. So the steps that you used for the Order Explorer are now the exact same, except now this information pertains to an Estimate Explorer instead of an order. And we'll save that. So the next thing that I want to show you how to do is Right now, these explorers take up the entire screen, but maybe I want to have some extra information. Maybe I want to add in a calendar so I can see the date and time. If I add an instrument, there's a option up here for date and time, and I can add in a calendar. But right now, that calendar is going to be taking up the entire screen. What I can do is I can right-click and then do Add Column. And what that does is that actually will add in a new column that I can start adding instruments into. So now that I've done that, if you select the blue bar of an instrument, you can take that instrument and drag it around. So I can move the location up, or I can move that location into the other column. And then from here, it puts a little bar in between the two different columns that I can use to resize the columns for. And now I have my screen that shows me two different order explorers in addition to showing my calendar. So you can mix and match different instruments and build a dashboard so that way the dashboard is tailored to what you need to see. Once you have all the options selected on the dashboard, once you have the dashboard finished and is what you want it to be, at the top section you can do Save and then Save Dashboard As. And now what it does is it gives that dashboard a name, and after you close and reopen the system, you'd be able to access that dashboard from the same drop-down up here. So that is the basics of being able to create a basic dashboard from scratch and just some of the more simple instruments that most dashboards use. One dashboard instrument that a lot of people don't know about is being able to use the advanced query in addition to the dashboards to kind of mix and match those two. Advanced queries, we're not going to cover those on this particular call. There is another in-depth training video that you can watch to kind of see how to build several different advanced queries. What we're going to do is take a query that was already built from a previous call and use that in a dashboard instrument. So I'm going to go ahead and do a new dashboard from scratch. And what we're going to do is we're going to right-click, add an instrument, and then for here we want to do Marketing and Advanced Explorer, and there's an instrument in here called Marketing Search Results. When I initially add this instrument, there's no information there because we haven't told it what to use yet. So what I want to do is go to the drop-down here, and we'll say Edit. And now I can also give this dashboard a name, and I already know the query that we're going to use, so I'm going to go ahead and call this a Design Installation Orders. Then we can say either use a dashboard search, but what we want to do is click on the button that says Use Save Search. When you click on that Use Save Search, you get two new boxes. So the first option that you want to do is actually go down to the bottom drop-down, and you can change and tell it what type of particular instrument is this. Is it a company, order, estimate? So we're going to say this is going to be a company explorer or order explorer. And then now that I have that selected, the middle box will show the different advanced queries that have been created within the system. So I have a query that was called Design Install Orders. So when I select that query, it fills in the options here. I can now go and save this instrument. And now I have an order explorer that's pulling from an advanced query instead of just the simple options that I had beforehand. Let's go ahead and do one more option with that, but this time we'll do a estimate explorer. So if I add instrument, Marketing Advanced Search Explorer, Marketing Search Results, we will edit that, and this time we'll say Use Save Search, and the search type this time is going to be Estimate. And now my Save Searches, instead of having a list of my order searches, if I pull this down, I now have my estimate searches. So I select those, and I will save that. And that will now be an advanced search explorer that shows me the query that I had selected. So essentially, you can use this in conjunction with the advanced query to build any query that you want to use within the system that shows you the information. And now you can pull an instrument to show that information on your main dashboard screen. So let's go ahead and close these two dashboards out. We'll start off with another blank dashboard. And now what I want to do is just go through a couple of the more useful instruments that I've seen over the use of the system that some people really like to use and just makes the use of the system more efficient or just gives you access to more options within the system. So the first instrument that I want to show, which is one of my personal favorites, is if I do Add Instrument, go down to Home, and then do Quick Lookup. We'll resize this. To show a couple more fields. But essentially what the quick lookup is it's a screen that I can now enter in any order number, any estimate number, any company name, any type of information that I want to be able to quickly look up without having to open up an Explorer and wait for the Explorer to load up, even if I know the order number, can be accomplished through this particular instrument. I can type in an order number here and click on Enter. What it will do is it will go ahead and pull that order straight up. Same thing with the estimates. If I go down to company, if I type in part of the company name and hit enter, what it will do is it'll even give you a screen that kind of shows you everything that matches the criteria that you had initially typed in to that particular instrument. You can also edit the instrument and take off a couple of the fields that you may not use. So if I pull this drop down here, I can edit this. And I can turn off certain things. So if you don't have access to bills or receiving documents, you can turn those off. Maybe you don't need to use it for looking up parts. You can check that off. So you can go through and check off options on this instrument to clean it up and not have as many fields on there. So now you can resize it and make it fit better for your particular screen. So I'm going to go ahead and close this instrument. And now the next instrument, which is more for maybe the manager of the business or someone that really needs to track the financials of the system, that's what this next instrument is going to be useful for. So I'm going to right click and then Add Instrument, and then under Accounting General we have the Financial Throughput Summary. Essentially this is mimicking a lot of the sales reports within the system. It just shows you within the time frame given, so within the last time that you closed out. It's going to show you the new activity and adjustments for your orders placed, orders built, sale, closed, and any payments that have been received. If you're interested, you can also change the date range. So like if you have a specific date range that you want to see your financials for, instead of relying on the monthly closeout range, you can click on the Use Calendar Date Range and then add in a calendar instrument. So if I add in an instrument here, and I'll say date and time, and then date and time range, that range up here is going to be dependent upon this particular instrument here. So if I change this to be July 1st, my instrument will now use that date range that I selected in this particular instrument to show its information. And that is kind of showing you also on another thing that we'll see on a couple other instruments is several instruments within the system actually work together. So this date and time range works with the Financial Throughput Summary to allow me to specify a date range that I want to be able to see on this particular instrument. Or again, if I uncheck the box, it goes back to the original version of just using my closeout dates to show me that information. So let's close these, and the next instrument is one that can be really useful the more that you use it. So if I do right click, Add Instrument, we'll say General and Shortcuts. So when this instrument first comes up, there's absolutely nothing on here. What I can do is if I go over to the drop down here and we edit this, that's where the real power of this instrument comes. is you can edit this shortcut menu to add in however many different buttons that you want it to appear. You have access to multiple different options. So I can add in website links. So I can go ahead and put in a link here to Serious Software. I can give it a caption. And I can also give it an icon. So we'll leave that icon there. So if I go down here, and we'll go ahead and close. Now, there's a button on here that has the link there. If I click on the link, it opens up a web page browser within the screen that takes me to the website that I specified. If we go back into there, that's just one of the options that we have access to. So we can do any URLs. If you had a file on your system that you wanted to be able to access with a click, you can link a file location on here as well. But more importantly also, if I go back to the ad, the thing that most people will do is actions. So if I add an action, I can give it a option over here. So I tell it the name of the action, and then I can say any action within the system. So if I scroll down here, I can add in a button that automatically opens up a new estimate. I can do a button that does a new order. I can add in a button that will do a close the day. I can add in my Explorer screen. I can create however many different actions that I want to see on this particular menu. And then the last thing on that particular shortcut instrument is, if I edit this again, the last option is report. So I can link a report to this particular shortcut menu. So if I run the WIP report all the time, if I run my sales report, if I run my income statement, any report that you run within the system, you can link it up as a report action on your shortcut menu. So that way you can get to this report with just a single click. So let's go ahead and we'll just do a pending estimate report. So it adds an option onto that shortcut menu, and when I click on it, it opens up the preview screen for the report, and I'm able to preview the report that I link up to that menu. So the shortcut instrument is one of the most powerful instruments that you can use, just because you have full control over what it's able to do. So we'll go ahead and close that instrument, and we've got two more that I'd like to cover. Let's do, the next one is going to be really useful for CSRs and people that use the system for Activity Manager and activity tracking, which is also, there's another in-depth video that covers talking about that. But I'm going to go ahead and add an instrument in for activities, and then Activity Manager calendar view. I'm going to add in a column, and I'm going to add in the calendar instrument. So add instrument, date and time, calendar. And let's resize this so things can be seen a little bit better. And what this does is it shows me my calendar within the system, but the calendar range is based upon the date that I select. So if I select 10/26, it's going to change the calendar based off of my option up here to show however many days. So if I select 1, my calendar was going to show me that specific day. If I have it set to 5, it's going to show me 5 days based off of the beginning of the week that I select. And then also, if I show 31, it's going to show me the month of the calendar that I select. So for someone that uses the Activity Manager for tracking all their calls, they can have it as a dashboard instrument and also have in other screens in addition to just the Activity Manager. So they can use those instruments on their dashboard in addition to just an Order Explorer to see all their information all at once. The last thing that I want to cover is how to use a basic Explorer and use it as a sub-explorer, so that way you can actually mix and match multiple different explorers to make them work in a little bit more useful fashion. So I'm going to start off by adding in an order explorer.
Now your parts are filled in. So what we need to do is the following.
So right now I can see the orders, but maybe I'm interested in the specific items that are on each order. What I can do is I can add in an instrument that shows me order, line item explorer, and we'll move it over to here. Scroll it down. Right now this explorer isn't going to do much for me because it's showing me every line item in the system. So that is not what we want to do with this particular explorer. What I can do is I can go down to this box here, edit this particular instrument, and then what I can do is there's a box up at the top that says make a sub-explorer of. And what that does is that means that this particular instrument is going to be dependent upon another instrument that I select. So if I say make a sub-explorer of, and I'll say make a sub of the order estimate service ticket type, and I go back to saving this, what's going to happen now is this explorer that we added is no longer showing me all line items in the system. It's now showing me the items for the selected order that I click on up here. So as I click through the different orders, you can see how the bottom explorer is now changing to reflect the options that I select at top. So using all these different options, you can mix and match the different explorers and the different instruments on the system to make your own personal dashboard that you can then use within the system that shows you information that you want to use. One of the nice things about the dashboards is sometimes it's best to just go through and maybe add in some of the instruments to play around and see what some of them do. Because some of them have multiple different features, some of them work together in interesting ways. So just trying to play around with some of the different combinations and seeing, trying to use the different instruments to build the dashboard that you want is going to be one of the most effective ways to use the dashboards and tailor the dashboard to be unique and personal for you to use it. And that is essentially all the basics talking about how to use these dashboards, how to use some of the more interesting instruments, and just how to kind of start personalizing a dashboard to show you the information that you need to see.